Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. We're going to take 20 minutes to deliver some amazing content from accomplished leaders and business owners to provide you with some value to scale your business and to become a better leader and push yourself out of your comfort zone. We encourage you to like and share with everyone to spread our messages. I'm super excited to announce our new partnership with Weathermatic. For most landscape companies, irrigation is an untapped gold mine for growth and profit, but labor and process problems stand in the way. So Weathermatic has created a partnership to package mobile technology and software with proven business solutions to tackle the perennial irrigation challenges and take your operations to a whole new level. I encourage you to reach out to Weathermatic and learn more. Cheers, everyone. Hi, this is Robert Clinky-Beard with the Commercial Landscaper Podcast. Super excited to be joined again by David Krysh. David, good friend, the owner, founder of the Growth Factor Group. Welcome again, David.
Hello, Robert. Good to see you again.
You too. It's been a while since you've been on a podcast, but yeah, I know we've built a bunch more listeners from all around the world. So I'd love to just hear your story or your background to the Growth Factor Group and your background.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So kind of real quickly, I've been through actually a variety of industries over my career, spanning too many years now. I don't, it's been a lot, 30, 35 years, 40 years, something like that. I don't even, who's counting anymore. But it's given me the opportunity to work for, kind of the common thread was always working for privately held businesses, starting from my father's business, and kind of working in that family owned environment, being brought up in having dad's office in the entry hall of the house, right?
Right.
And then going to college, graduating, getting into a career that's outside of that. I didn't really want to be a part of that family business, but always was involved from startup to very established generation, even family business that was like 9 generations of ownership. Started in the 1820s, was a paper company. So I've had a lot of experience in that, as well as owning or actually running for investors other businesses. And at kind of the change in my career, decided to have an impact on multiple businesses through business coaching, peer group advisory, which I did locally here in the Greenville, South Carolina market actually, I guess it's been about almost 15 years now I've been doing that. Still have that business. And one of the things that I found as a common thread to all of that is, and I think it's core to our conversation, is the most critical thing a business owner can do is hire the right people for their business. One of the most difficult things for them to accomplish properly is to hire the right people for their business. It's a to-do list item. Business owners, I include myself in that, you kind of don't do a very good job at it. And not that I'm a great solution, but I've kind of pivoted into recruiting, helping the business owners in my peer groups in doing that process, that kind of front end, finding candidates and setting them up, so that it minimizes the impact on the owner and their management team to find those people. And so I've been doing that now for just about this same time that I've been doing peer groups, about 15 years. Met up with you, of course, in the green industry through networking and peer groups, and just the commonality when you moved here to Greenville. And you thought, hey, David, join Wilson 360 in kind of providing that recruitment process for our peer groups. And for the last 5-6 years now, I've become very, very embroiled into the industry. And I do have, some contract recruiters help that help me. So it's not just David Krysh, but I have a hand in every hire that's been done. So I, basically a retained recruiter.
That's awesome. No, you made a good point that the recruitment, or you could even take it higher, the people part of businesses is probably the one that people struggle with.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big training session 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the comment came through that we're not necessarily landscapers. Almost like landscaping is a given. We're more people managers.
Yep. Yep.
And when you actually think about that, when you look at actually the payroll going through a lot of companies, 50, 60, 70% of their costs are around people management, and a lot of people don't do that well. And then when I'm brought in to look at companies, a lot of the issues are around people, whether they're behaving, whether they're matched in the right seats. So I agree 100%. So, one of the things we talked about offline, David, was going into April 2024, going into that sort of height of the busy season, they're trying to either hopefully they've filled a lot of their seats for the season to sustain that growth. But what you're seeing out there in terms of, if people identify their growth strategy, whether it be through an acquisition, whether it be through creating another division, whether it be going into a different market, how is that then playing into their recruitment needs?
Yeah. So I think what generally has been occurring is we want to focus or we need to focus on irrigation, or we need to focus in, and we want to do this. And it's like too late, quick, I need somebody. Or, there's a change in, you're opening a new branch and it's like, oh crap. We don't have capacity to manage our equipment. So now we need a facilities director. Thinking ahead on some of these things is probably what I'd like to be able to kind of emphasize, because I'm seeing, it takes a while to recruit and find people. I mean, everybody should know that by now. The economy's, it's no secret. What's going on with the economy, and of course the industry itself is focused around labor, and getting labor, but it's the same thing with management level positions. The the generational shift is occurring, so all of us baby boomers are kind of, heading off into the sunset, and there's a smaller population behind us to fill those roles, and there's a smaller population behind them. Well, maybe it's a little bit larger, in the generation behind them, but anyway, it's just a tight management labor market. And when then you take and you say, okay, I need somebody experienced in this industry, you've all of a sudden taken what's already a tight market and you've turned it into a negative unemployment number. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
like
right.
it's overemployed. We've got more positions for account managers than there are trained, educated account managers in the market, period. And for landscape maintenance commercial, or whatever, pick a position. And so how do we think outside the box and bring outside candidates in? Or are you just thinking ahead to it's no longer taking 90 days to start a search, find somebody, make an offer through Indeed, find somebody through Indeed, make an offer, they give 2 weeks notice and they start, right? That's kind of a typical 90-day process that, used to be kind of pre-COVID or whatever time period. Now you're looking at, for skilled management position, for that irrigation director, manager that you want to have as a division manager. Are you thinking 4, 5, 6 months? to find that right candidate who's ready to jump ship from where they are to, float over to yours. Um, and so anyway, that's probably the biggest, kind of hopeful takeaway is it's going to take some time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, given your example of the irrigation director, I mean, more than likely you're not going to find somebody in your local market. So that probably will involve some type of relocation. And
Yep.
again, that adds, weeks, a month or so onto that whole process. But you're right. I mean, one of the things that we used to do is, part of our strategic planning process, we would look at doing strategic planning for the next year. We would look at things like budgets, but, we would also look at our current and future job, our org chart,
Hmm.
and try and match up where our growth plans were versus available positions, internal candidates, what were some of the recruitment needs and when. So it was a pretty detailed process. It took a long time, but it allowed us to plan a little bit better in terms of, what are the positions that can't be filled internally, and then how do we find those external candidates? And you're right, using a recruiter, obviously, ideally, or you might have a good enough network yourself. But that's the process is usually a September, October, November type deals to plan for next year. I mean, is that generally a pretty realistic timeline and timetable for people just to plan ahead a little bit?
Yeah, it should be. If you're looking to get somebody started for spring season, right? March, April, kind of higher, but you got to also plan on getting them productive, right? I always say, just kind of jokingly, they got to find the bathroom, right? I mean, they just need to fit in and find their place, and you need to help them find their place, on
Right.
onboarding, gee, what a concept. Yeah, and actually having that as part of your process as an owner, we don't just hire somebody and, sit them at a desk or throw them in a truck and send them out and expect them to be productive right away. I mean, yes, there's just, certain position, labor or certain, even labor, you don't, you've got to do some training and getting them acclimated to your process as you hire management positions and the higher management positions. You, that needs to be part of the plan. It could be 3, 6 months for that for that individual to understand your market, your processes, your
Right.
people, the resources. Um, but and then at the end of that, for senior management level people, you need they then need to come to you and say, "This is what you need to do. Here's my plan. Here's my plan for expanding that water management program for you. I've gotten to know you and your company and, kind of what we've talked about little things, but here's the business plan for the next 2 years to make that happen."
Right.
That should actually be part of a management level onboarding process. But you got to give them that time.
Yeah.
Don't expect
100%.
them to turn around in the first 3 months. Maybe
Yeah.
they'll probably make some great moves, great decisions. I know in my career in the past, I've kind of cleared some decks, after coming on within a few months, within a month or two, you kind of see things that are not being done correctly, and you can you can help kind of steer the ship a little bit. But it's the big move that you're wanting, you know, in your bit if that's what you're wanting in your business. But I'm assuming, you're not hiring a high level person to just help you tread water.
Yeah. No,
On
you
the
want them
whole,
to
yeah.
take strides, take some of the stuff off your shoulders. What when you're looking at like a higher level position, but ask a question, are there more non-industry talent coming into the green industry? And in doing that, what are some of the the key traits? I mean, is that whole part of the whole initial recruitment process, is determining what traits you need for that position? And then once the traits are established, then you're putting your feelers out, and it may or may not be a green industry experienced person, correct?
Correct. And it kind of, and I guess I would say it depends, right? It's
Right.
probably got a great answer to that, but because if you're looking for call it administrative positions, CFO, accountant, HR, human resources, those kinds of roles, definitely the answer can and should be yes. I would also challenge the industry, owners, this audience, many of them, to think outside the box for some of those other positions, branch managers, business development managers, COO. There was an announcement we were talking about of a company in Colorado that just hired a COO who's been 20 years as a mechanical engineer and a manufacturing executive, and they hired him, into the company as chief operating officer to help streamline processes, right? He's a lean manufacturing thought process executive and knows some things that could really, improve the business. I always tell owners, look, you have 50 managers in your company, depending on the size of your company, 20 managers, 10 managers in your company have horticulture degrees, landscape architect, or have just been 20, 30 years in the industry and know plant, soil, all of the technical side of the industry, if you will. But shouldn't you look outside the industry for people that have skill sets in organizational skills? We had kind of mentioned before the call, technology, understanding technology and how to better use technology within the company. I've had some owners successfully think that way. I think, it's been great. An example was a business development manager I found, and the company thought outside the box. I'm not going to mention names. I don't know if I should probably in the call, but and he was a commercial seating business development manager. So he knew they're a commercial landscape maintenance company, right? And he knew, the architect CRE market, architect market. He was a VP of the local CRE networking committee. He's now, I think this is his fourth year, and he's gone from business development manager to he's now director, within the landscaping industry. And I bet he probably has learned a little bit of green industry stuff, in those years. But it was kind of a risk, sure. He doesn't know trimming or spraying or fertilization schedules, but you've got a whole company that knows that.
100%. 100%.
You
You've got that knowledge in the company.
Yeah, what he had was the context, and I bet he's probably done some things that brought some things from outside the industry into the company that have helped them improve their way of doing things. So I think that that's something that should be thought and discussed more. I would like to say that as a recruiter, I try to, but I got to be honest, I'd say 90% of the conversations are, no, I need somebody with 10 years industry experience. I need somebody who's already doing account management, in commercial maintenance in this market. And the only way that's going to happen is you're going to steal from somebody else. So your company culture and attractiveness had better be better than the company that they're coming from. You've got to have a reason, or you're going to pay them more.
Yeah. Well, I'll touch on that in a minute, and especially around the technology piece. But if you take your example of a business development or sales manager, yes, they can learn the industry over, I don't know, 3, 6, 9 months because there's so much other knowledge within the company. But, one of the things that I think is lacking in a lot of companies, and I've seen it quite a bit, is a lot of companies don't necessarily have, like, for example, a CRM system. They don't have a sales process. They don't have a sales playbook. They don't do a good job of tracking information about the clients. They don't do enough things like role playing. So there's a lot of stuff that somebody could bring that's maybe got experience in a different industry, just developing those processes and best practices,
Yep.
and learn the industry stuff along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, my career spans, I guess, 4 different organizations, 4 different companies. These were all, when I came in, for the most part, they were, kind of industry level position, companies, and, 8, 15 million, kind of in that range. But I'd be coming from a larger organization, a different industry, and come in and help them kind of take that business, that existing business, to the next level, bring some organization to it. Maybe hiring processes. I was more business development oriented myself in my career, and so sales processes, putting those in place, and and then once that was established, take the business into a different market, and which was kind of the owner's vision and our vision initially, and kind of make that kind of and step the level of the company up. So many of those companies were 20 to 50 to 100% growth. And I'm not banging my drum. I actually bang the drum to the owners and the teams that were part of the companies that I was in. And I was just kind of the guy that would ground break, and help make those things happen. So, and I guess that's probably, what I'd like to, I think should happen for this market to really go to the next level, for this industry to go to the next level. And I bet as you look around the industry at the very large, successful, companies, and they maybe don't even have to be large successful. They could be, great medium-sized run businesses that they've brought in outside industry help, maybe even consultants, to kind of help them do that. Obviously, I'm a big fan, as as we are, in peer groups too, to bring in that, outside of their box. And the Wilson 360 does that great within the industry, kind of looking at how people do things outside their own market, and being open to that. And I just encourage owners to always be part of that.
Yep, no, I agree, 100%. Obviously, I would do that, but I did that myself when I had my own business.
Yep.
I just knew my limitations, knew my blind spots, and yeah, maybe it was a hit to the ego at the time, but I think it definitely helped to scale my company. Going back to making your company attractive, obviously that could be a nice facility, could be a nice culture, could be some great benefits. But technology is beginning to play more and more a part in companies' DNA. They're looking at data from their ERP systems. They're looking at data from irrigation, from GPS systems. There's so much data now become available. So it's getting more into technology, tech, laptops, analyzing that data. Are you seeing any of that in terms of current hires or even future hires, and the
Well,
type of talent or future needs?
so I specifically for growth factor for David Krysh, growth factor group, unfortunately, well, the answer is yes, in that, kind of again, that industry specific, you know, do they know Aspire, LMN, dot, 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 right? The tech industry specific technology, especially when you're talking about branch manager or operations managers, account man, those types of positions, you better darn well be savvy. You don't need to know one particular program versus the other, but you ought to be able to be savvy enough to pick them up. So I'm speaking to you, potential candidates out there. Have that skill set in mind. If you haven't taken an Excel class lately, take it and get to know it. But I think most account managers now that are successful, I'll just, yeah, the truck is their office, and they got their laptop or their iPad, and they're sitting in their office vehicle in between calls, and going through stats for the accounts. And so I think that's definitely there. What I would say is not as apparent as it should be is, are you as an owner looking at bringing in a technology, an IT department, head, somebody who can manage and be, out in front of the technology that's coming into the market right now, which, again, yes, you've got all your ops oriented softwares, but you've also got, remote, equipment now going on, the robotics, right? And all the software that goes into those robotics. Yeah. So not to mention helping you with security on all of that information. Yes, everybody's probably got, I've even got, the one man show, my outsourced IT company. It's kind of like your CPA, right? Who runs a business without having an outside CPA? Who runs a business without having an outside IT provider? But at what point do you think you need to hire and bring somebody in a house to help manage that outsourced person? You've got an accountant, right? You've got a CFO or a controller or somebody, yet you still have that outside accounting firm, CPA firm. Maybe you should be thinking and doing that same thing on the IT side. At what point does that become important for you to then be on the forefront of that wave that's coming in the next?
Yeah.
When? Is
Yeah.
it now? Is it next year? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Who knows? That robotics, everybody's going to have a robotic mower floating around in their yards or facilities. But it's,
that could even get down to, for example, either foreman or a field supervisor level, because one of the conversations I had a few weeks ago with another podcast guest was, it's already beginning to happen where one of those field supervisors is now taking a truck to a large job site like an HOA, unloading their truck with 3 robotic mowers, and then setting them, and they're off.
yep,
While he's going around doing some detail work, those mowers are out there cutting grass.
yep,
So to have that type of technology base to be able to troubleshoot and deal with some of those basic things, or setting the programs initially, I think that's going to become more and more of a necessity, I would guess.
I would think so. And I would just say from the recruiter's perspective and the guy that, I hope in some cases I'm not the second thought, but I'm the fourth thought, or my function is the fourth thought. It's, I need to hire this position for the company. And like I said, gosh, what the demand must be for IT management positions. I haven't really dabbled in that market, but I can imagine, to find somebody that's going to have the skill set that you're going to want is not going to be, and the culture fit to your company. A lot of the industry owners, and I get it, that I deal with are, if I've got an office position, they're going to be in the office. I don't want remote employees, because all of my workers, everybody comes into the yard and launches at the beginning of the day, and I want to make sure I have people in the office. So remote working so that cuts off a big part of the potential work population. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast, right? Uh,
Right.
of remote work versus office work, but for admin type or office positions. But I would say, you need to be thinking, that hire is going to take several months to find the right fit for what you're looking for. Or it could be a great networking opportunity for an owner to just start talking to people and find somebody that,
Yeah.
might like to join a forward thinking landscape company, you know, for technology, as opposed to working, in an IT company where everybody's doing IT work and AI and da 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 da.
Yeah, you get best of both worlds. If you're outside enjoying the weather and you're able to deal with some technology or innovation, and I
Yep.
think that's pretty
Could be a very
appealing.
attractive
Yeah,
proposition to
absolutely.
the right person, and
To the
that's,
right person, and you would have to have a nice, as you know, where a job placement or a job ad to explain that type of
yes,
position. So,
right, right.
David, I know we're running out of time here,
Yep.
but how could people get hold of you just to learn about, your services, or maybe pick your brains more with what some of the trends you're seeing out there?
Sure. I'm kind of all over LinkedIn and Growth Factor Group. Oh, wait a minute, it's over here, growthfactorgroup.com. Actually, I've had clients come to me by looking at ads that are posted in Google. Look up account manager, commercial landscape account manager. And usually some of my clients' jobs are the first ones that pop up. And I've had them go, "Hey, I see that your job, we do a pretty good job of engaging technology, in our recruiting." So there's that, or it's just DJK at growthfactorgroup.com. But yeah, I'm out there, pretty available. David Krysh, it's spelled over here, is a little, yeah. Um,
Yep.
Krysh. There's not too many of me out there, so you can Google me and I'll pop right up for your viewing pleasure.
Cool. Well, thank you, David. Really appreciate your time today. And, just to the listeners, just look out for, some of the other things coming down the pipeline from Wilson 360. We have our Thought Leaders Retreat in Denver, July 29th to the 31st. Should be an amazing event. Again, this is, I think, our fifth year. So really nicely done. And then we just are going live with our new leadership development digital courses. So if you're learning and becoming a effective leader in the industry, then check out our courses on our website. So, David, thank you again for your time. It's been super great to have a great conversation with you
Yeah, you
again.
bet. Well, thank you for having me back. By the way, I've had several candidates mention they've listened to me on your podcast, on a commercial podcast, and I'm sure there are clients out there that do the same thing. But you're a well listened to,
Cool. Well, thank
great
you.
podcast for the industry and
Yeah,
others.
we're just trying to educate people and get to improve the industry as a whole. So appreciate that feedback. Thank you,
Yeah.
David.
All right,
Okay.
Robert.
Have a
Thanks.
good day.
Yep.
Cheers.
Bye.
Hopefully that was pure, dead, brilliant for you today, and you got some great takeaways for your business or your leadership role. This is Robert Clickybeard. We'd love to get you and your friends to join us in our future journey. So please subscribe to our various podcast channels or visit thecommerciallandscaper.com or wilson360.com. Love you to join you there. We have our new 360 Plus community program. We'd love you to sign up for. It's on the far right-hand side of our website. Thanks again for our partner, Weathermatic, and I encourage you to reach out to them. Have a pure, dead, brilliant day. Cheers, everyone.